Good morning, everybody. Hello, my name is Brian Early. I'm the project lead of the Shrimp Society NFT. Every week, we host a Sunday dinner in our Discord where we sit down for a casual chat with different builders in the Web3 space to hear about their come to fruition stories about the industry. On this week, for Sunday dinner, we had a community member chat with Ashton Harris, the 23-year-old CTO and founder of Whinstone US, the largest Bitcoin mining facility in North America. We talked about the story of how he ended up starting Whinstone, some of the challenges he faced, and what's he excited for in the future of crypto. Enjoy the episode and enjoy Sunday dinner.
Obviously I'm very familiar with you and your story, Ashton, but I'm sure most of the audience is dying to hear the humble beginnings. So, why don't we start off talking a little bit about the early days and, the conversation you had abroad and how that all got the ball rolling.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, like you said, like back 2012, I think I was sitting in the middle of history class, and I think it was like right when I was signing up for like Mt. Gox, one of the original exchanges on for Bitcoin. And it just really piqued my interest. Like a lot of us, I'm 24, really like grew up with technology in our lives. I remember getting my first desktop when I was about 7 years old. So it's pretty native to us, and all these concepts of what we have as money today, and how everything works, like just seemed so inefficient. And you're seeing this idea of an internet native currency, which started with Bitcoin back then, but how it's expanded today is just tremendous with the industry. But you know, it was 2016, and I like completely bombed my semesters at LSU. I think I signed up for like I had 2 semesters, so 30 credit hours, and I think I left with 11 or 12. Um, and I was paying for college. I was taking out student loans for that, and it just wasn't ideal. I didn't know what I wanted to do yet, and I'm sitting here, taking out 30 grand of loans, already seeing that I'm gonna have to repay that money, and I still don't know what I want to do. So I left LSU, and at the time, I was bussing tables in a restaurant. Um, and I go back to New Orleans, and I get with my dad, and he's like, "Look, dude, like I've always been talking about this Bitcoin stuff. Like this is back in, the middle of 2017 when it was really picking up, when we had that first bull run to about 20K." And
Yep.
he's like, "How about you just go do something, dude? Like buy those miners that you've always been talking about." Um, and that's really where it started. My dad uh, gave me a small loan, not of $1 million, but of $5,000. So I took that $5,000 and I bought some S9s, and that's kind of where our story begins.
Wow, crazy. Yeah, I mean, so early days, obviously your dad believed in you and saw the vision. But as a whole, like diving head first into this, some people obviously thought you were kind of crazy, right? Was it an internal battle being such an early crypto adopter? Like, you obviously stuck to your guns the entire way, which is, incredible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially with my mom, she's like, "Is this real?" That was always the question. Um, with her support, but obviously as time went on, she became very supportive of it. But yeah,
Probably not.
crypto definitely didn't have its roots yet. Still in 2017, it was just a super speculative asset. People weren't sure if it was a scam or not still. Um, so yeah, it was pretty hard to like kind of decide to invest my time and future into something that was definitely unpredictable at the time. And, shortly after I got my S9s running, the market tanked to $3,000. So I went from making $50 a day per S9, and that shot down to like, maybe $10 or less. So it was definitely breathtaking at first. Like it seemed so promising. We're doing great, and then like 2 weeks later, the market just completely dumped. Um, but with that event, like we just decided to stick with it. And through time and time again, we've ridden out these market cycles where we're shooting up, coming down, and not making any money, but just finding a way to kind of make ends meet and pay those electrical bills.
Crazy. Yeah, I mean, and it's crazy how you started to scale it as well. So obviously in life, in a company, et cetera, most people kind of have some kind of like it moment, right? And when you're going like, holy shit, like this is it, this is actually happening. We're gonna run with this. When what was that moment for you?
Honestly, not till recently with the acquisition by Riot, a US company. Um, up until this point recently, the thought process in my head is the money's not real, it's not there, and none of this is really happening. I just try to put that in the back of my head because one, for me personally, that would kind of distract me. Um, and two, you really just have to work from your heart, so to say. If you're sitting there and you're chasing the dollars the whole time, you're not really going to focus on what the real problems are and what needs to be solved for. Um, so that was always kind of a second thought, and I think I would speak on behalf of the team, the four guys that I really formed the company with on that factor. None of us were really ever focused on getting paid, and we really just like put everything we had into it to make it happen.
Yeah, man, just for the passion of creating something that was so groundbreaking. I love that. I think definitely like the passion of any project is what really will push it to new highs. But you talked a little bit about the team, right? The four people you're working with. So obviously it's very well documented that any project is as good as its team. And so, talk a little bit about the people that you started it out with, and how, everyone played their roles, and the different roles that everyone had. And obviously, there were a couple different acquisitions. The first one with Northern Data in 2019, and the one recently. So yeah, I mean, like, talk a little bit about the team, and how everything has evolved at each step of the company.
Definitely. Yeah. So I'll start with Lyle. So Lyle is our I want to say he's the COO. Sees over the operations of the site. Um Lyle ran CrossFit gyms back in New Orleans. So that was always his thing. Fitness was really his passion. He wasn't looking at it as a paycheck. Like, this man was like really trying to fix people. And not to go too off topic here, but I think CrossFit's definitely one of those interesting things where it was known as a fad, and it definitely became into that. But initially it was really about like, how can we correct the human body, and like, where is it kind of going wrong, right? So I really see him as a big problem solver, because he knows how to like look at these problems and kind of analyze and dig into the root causes of them. Um, so he was running gyms at the time when I met him, and he came into my dad's warehouse where I had the machines running, and he was just confused. He was like, "You got to explain this to me." I mean, this guy knew not much about tech beyond like running a Facebook page and engaging with clients. So explaining crypto to him, I mean, he just goes on this deep dive for weeks on end, just watching every YouTube video to try to understand it. And he's definitely been one of the most like critical pieces in this company moving forward. I mean, his willpower is just unmatched, and him as a person, like, really, I was still in my coming of age. I think I was 22 or 21 when we met, and yeah, he really taught me a lot about life and how to think about things differently, and just having a better perspective overall, because I definitely like used to be a pretty like cynical person, didn't try too hard at the things I did. I mean, you can look at my high school resume, I just glided past with B's and C's just to get through. Didn't really focus on my studies, and he absolutely shifted my perspective on life, and like helped me really learn how to drive myself to accomplish something. Um, and to this day, he's teaching me all different types of things and how to take care of myself better, etc. Um, and then David comes into play. So David was from Portland, and he was actually a diesel train mechanic. And he, again, like, another guy who came into a situation that just wanted to accomplish things, wanted to solve problems, and another person who really inspired me as a person because he, as frustrated as he could get with somebody or a problem, like he never quit. He always just continued and moved along with whatever the issue was. But you know, it's really inspiring to see that in your teammates. And then moving on, obviously, I have to give my most thanks to my dad. And his background was running a local retail shop in New Orleans, and as well as online shopping and dropship, Shopify, all of that. And yeah, I mean, he's my number one cheerleader. He's just always motivated me to go above and beyond and do better, and really wanted me to find that entrepreneurial spirit that has really been in our family, since our great grandparents. So yeah, I mean, I couldn't talk long enough on him to really do him justice, but his experience in business and strategy is really what helped propel our company forward with making tough decisions and all of that.
Crazy. That's awesome. Definitely love having a supportive family like that. That really makes all the difference. So for those who don't have a ton of knowledge about, Bitcoin mining and the tools needed and exactly what kind of goes on day to day, could you kind of give a brief overview of exactly, the role you play within the ecosystem and what goes on at Whinstone?
Yeah, definitely. And to give some background on it, so we did 1 megawatt in New Orleans, and that was self-funded. We bought all the equipment, et cetera, got it hooked up, ran it. It was great. And then this is kind of where we merge into the story of how Whinstone was formed. And I'd like to touch on that one a little bit. We were kind of at this tipping point where we weren't cash flow positive. We had all these electrical bills to pay. We had all this equipment costs to pay for the infrastructure installation in our facility. And we get an email from Bitmain. And if you don't know Bitmain, that's one of the major manufacturers for ASICs. And they were having the mining digital conference. And it was based in the country of Georgia at the capital, Tbilisi. And we basically had no money left to our name at this point. We bought the plane tickets on credit, and we were like, we're going to figure out a way to make this work. And Lyle and I decided to go out there together, and we go to the conference, and it was all cool and all, but we didn't really find anything that we saw as promising for what we were doing. Until one night we're at this super Americanized sports bar. Like it had a big statue of like a baseball and a football outside. It was the funniest thing ever. And we bump into this guy, and he's like, "Oh, well, what do y'all do?" We're like, "Oh, we're just some small time miners back in New Orleans. We have a megawatt facility that we got up and running by ourselves, and whatnot." And at the time, he was selling things like smart PDUs and integrated Ethernet switches for mining infrastructure. And the more and more we talked with this guy, we ended up going out for a night on the town with him. And, we kind of strike up a business deal, over a few drinks. And he was based out of Germany, and he flew out to New Orleans, 2 or 3 weeks later, met up with us, and brought some prospective clients. And, those clients funded us to build out 5 megawatts more in New Orleans. We did that. And so on and so forth. These clients kind of stuck with us. They come into our facility, and our entire structure is made of 2x4s. It was nothing professional. Again, like you have 4 guys with little to no background in crypto, just problem solvers and doers. So, show these guys our facility, and they're like, "Great, we want to fund y'all." They throw us some money to build out a prospective 100 megawatt facility, which is kind of where we ended up migrating from Louisiana to Texas. But yeah,
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, I remember the early days. Like, or go on. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I think I had missed your question.
Yeah. I guess one quick comment. I remember the early days, right? I feel like I'd come home from college at Miami, and it would kind of went from a couple miners, right, to getting the warehouse. And then, obviously I'd come back again and it had grown some more and come back again. And then there were talks of moving out to Texas, and, definitely moved super quickly. It was awesome. But yeah, again, could you talk a little more about exactly like what goes on with like what role you play exactly within the Bitcoin ecosystem?
Yeah, definitely. So we like to frame ourselves as a major infrastructure provider. Originally, we came into this mining for ourselves, and then down the line, we were like, okay, well, it looks like the real problem is that nobody has the power and nobody has the capacity to host all these machines, which is why we started focusing on hosting other people's ASIC miners, because the two major costs in ASIC mining is the miners themselves, which an S19 today can run you $5,000 to $10,000 per unit. And I think that ROI is in about 180 days, depending on what your electrical costs are. But our position is moreover, gathering all the infrastructure, putting it in one place, and then bringing clients on board. And that was our main vision going out into Texas before the Riot merger. And today with Riot, we manage their ASICs and continue to expand to have more space for them at our facility.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, as we now know, Whinstone was acquired a couple months ago for 11.8 million shares of Riot common stock and 80 million in cash. So at the time, totaling around 650 million. How was the acquisition process? When were you initially approached, and what did that whole negotiation process look like?
Yeah, really, the majority of it was seeing if it's all there, right? So one of the fun things about Bitcoin mining in itself is that it seems to be an industry that's really packed full of scam artists, so to say. Um, so the majority of the merger and the acquisition process was just like going through the details, seeing what's really there, what's it worth, and then kind of the fun thing about being a part of a U.S. publicly traded company is that there's a boundless list of rules and regulations you have to follow and auditing procedures. So it was really just like preparing for all of that stuff and just organizing better as a company, right? Because up until this point, we were private, and you can basically do whatever you want as a private company, as long as you're not putting guns to people's head and taking their money. So yeah, that whole process was fun because I got to learn like what a real business is like and what's really expected at the highest levels and the highest standards of the industry. So I mean, for that, it's really just been free knowledge that I'm picking up and gathering and putting together.
Wow, that's awesome. So yeah, obviously there's been so many different stages of this company and so many different stages of your growth, I'm sure personally and the companies as well. How was your role changed throughout the life of the business? Like, what did that look like at first, and how has that role evolved into what it is today post acquisition?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, initially, everybody was kind of just filling the gaps where needed. So I wasn't too construction minded. I've always been pretty focused on computers and systems my whole life. So that's where I started to fill the gap of, okay, well, you can plug a Ethernet switch into a wall and run some machines off of it, but how do you really make an efficient system that scales well? I mean, some parts of our facility today hold upwards of 60,000 miners, right? So to design a network that can hold all that capacity was basically what my focus was. So kind of had to pick up these skills, learn Cisco networking and dive through the textbooks. And thankfully, the main reason I got into this industry was there was no barrier to entry. To contrast with my brother, who is an auditor, you have to go through the 4 years of schooling. He had to go get his master's degree and then his CPA. Whereas, I just saw this as a free for all. You can come in, and it's not about what papers you have behind your name or what stamps or certificates you have. It's really just how hard are you willing to work, and you know, will you put the time in, and can you do that job effectively?
That's awesome. I think that's so true about crypto and Web3 and kind of the whole space. And I'm super curious. It's kind of a two-part question, but I'm hearing you talk about all this, and I just like I got to know. So you're 20, like 19, 20, 21 years old when this thing is really starting out, and you're the main person driving it forward. Obviously, probably the youngest person in all of these rooms, and in Georgia, getting drinks with people and closing deals and all this stuff. And just how was that being young, where you had the experience and the technical know-how, but there was so much business experience and stuff that you said you've learned from your other partners? Was that challenging to I guess not know how to act in certain situations, or give up certain kind of like responsibilities in the company? But it's also tough because you're the one who kind of started it off and everything like that. So as you guys grew, what was that like more personally? You as leader of the company, but then bringing in other leaders and all of that. What was that like going through that?
Yeah, so definitely, like, even up until this day, I've kind of like stayed behind the scenes a little bit, because again, there is that nervousness of like, holy Christ, there's a 24-year-old in charge of this, right? um but as far as like learning how to do those business relationships and working with people, um and I find it so funny, but I just say that I'm LARPing, live action role playing, right? Like, I imagine what the role is that I need to fill, and I play that part as hard as I can. And my philosophical part of it is that everybody in life is really LARPing. Like, nobody really knows what they're doing for the most part, at least that I've seen in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely professionalized rapidly over these last 2 years. But um, there really is no book on crypto
Mm-hmm.
and knowing how to do it. So I think you just have to be confident, and people will take you seriously and listen to you, because I mean, you got guys like Vitalik, for example, who started Ethereum at a very young age, and it has progressed into this monumental project. Um, and again, like, the no barriers to entry thing. People really take you at your word in this industry, and as long as you can show for it, that's all that matters.
Definitely. No, it totally makes sense. I love that analogy. We got to get that on a t-shirt. Because it's true. Like, even, people, it's like kind of whoever's confident and at least acts like they know what they're doing, people are gonna listen and believe them. And then you have the chops and obviously the whole infrastructure to back it up. But now, fast forward to the acquisition. I mean, there's like massive, massive numbers, hundreds of millions of dollars getting thrown around, and like negotiated and all that stuff. Was there a level of imposter syndrome where you're like, yeah, I'm LARPing, but like, is this even real? Right. Like, I would imagine some of those conversations. I know you said that you tried to not think about the money and stuff like that, but I guess, was there ever a point where you felt like, damn, like, can I do this? Right. Like, with this acquisition is going to go through and there's all these new expectations of me and stuff like that. Did you ever have some sort of imposter syndrome?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not nonstop. I can never come to terms with the reality of the situation. It's just beyond crazy to me, and it's definitely really hard to find people in my age range that can provide advice. At least, I always think about, like, I wish I could get in contact with the guy who started Snapchat, right? Because he did that out of his dorm at Stanford or whatever. Um, and it's like, yeah, how is a 20-year-old, pretty young male supposed to navigate these waters that are, run by boomers and people in their 40s and 50s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely a high level of imposter syndrome. Um, but every year I get older, people take me a little bit more seriously, and
Mm-hmm.
I just have to keep up the steam on my side, and I think it'll continue to move forward pretty well.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what is well, I do want to go back to like one other question I had, which was you mentioned clients, like getting more clients, and I never thought about mining from kind of like a business sales standpoint of where you're trying to sign new people on. But is that like a revenue share of the mining profits, or how does that get structured? It's like an investment in you. Is it an equity investment, or is it more of an investment into the products, and then you're managing the actual mining rigs and making a payout? Like, I'm kind of interested on how that all goes down. And like, do you guys have new clients lined up and a backlog of people that are trying to, start new mining operations with you?
Yeah, so really all those avenues are available. So yeah, I mean there's customers that are interested in the rev share. There's customers that are interested in just investing in the infrastructure, and then people that just want us to deploy the infrastructure, plug in their miners and let them manage it, right? So really I've seen all sides of those deals happen. Um, but yeah, it's mainly people that just want their machines hosted, and their big play is, and with everybody in the mining industry, is your cost per kilowatt hour.
Mm-hmm.
And being in Texas, where it has a deregulated market, so to say, um, you can get some pretty aggressive pricing. So that's why you have these overseas clients, for example, um, that can't do it in their own home country, right? Because it would just be astronomical as far as price. So, they'll come to us and be like, hey, we're really interested in this industry. We want to get our feet wet. And we like to start that by having some miners deployed. But generally we'll have the clients bring their miners to us, while we can source that type of stuff. Generally the way the deals go, it makes more sense for them to get their own.
Gotcha. And last question, and then I'll sorry, Luke, I'll let you jump back in here. But one more question. I did a little homework, and you guys are in Rockdale, Texas now, right? It's called.
Yep, Rockdale.
So I read something where it said that there used to be a big company there, or a big industry there, but it kind of fizzled out, like, I don't know, 20 years ago or something like that. But you guys moved this massive crypto mining facility into kind of rural Texas, small town. Was there any pushback? Like, I grew up in a like rural Midwest, and I just can't even imagine like talking about crypto and stuff like that with a lot of people in those small towns. Like, we're just not into that. Like, was there any pushback on you guys coming in there and setting up this huge facility, or I don't know? How did that all go?
So the way we found the facility, right? My dad was looking at Wired magazine, and they had an article written about Rockdale, and it was something to the effect of, small town bets big on Bitcoin and fails or whatever. So Bitmain, the ASIC manufacturer, was already deploying miners at the same facility that we're at today. And to give you some perspective, that facility's 30,000 acres. It was a aluminum smelting facility, and it also had power generation on it. So yeah, I mean, that was employing, upwards of, I think, 5,000 people. And then they found the company Alcoa found it more effective to produce the materials in South America. So all these jobs disappear overnight, and the town just collapses pretty much. That was the town's income.
Mm-hmm.
And with Bitmain coming, Bitmain promised 200 jobs, all these different things, and it just turned out not to be the case. And my dad saw that as an opportunity to kind of make things right with Rockdale. And we came out there, and I think within 3 months we had 100 employees on the ground. And there was pushback in the sense that, people had this doubt that it was going to be another Bitmain situation where people aren't really learning anything. They're just kind of like hands-on labor. And the shortcomings of their employment. But we really turned that narrative around. We really work hard, and God bless the people of Rockdale. They've been so grateful to us, and just the most accepting people all around. I really enjoyed the time that I lived in Rockdale. I recently moved, but yeah, it was really fun. It's a small town of 5,000 people, and everything you imagine about small town America goes on there. So.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, where do you see, I guess, big picture, where do you see the crypto industry going here? Give me kind of like a 1 year and a 5 year of like where you see the industry going, and then I definitely want to dig into your take on like NFTs and everything that's going on in that space as well.
Yeah. So 1 year take, it's going to be the same as it is today. I don't think much will change as far as like market placement and who's in what position today. But 5 years, I really think that there's going to be a lot more competition as we see these institutional investors coming in. You got Wall Street hammering through, ETFs on the way. There's a lot of big money coming into this, and it's growing exponentially. And I think that ultimately it's going to come down to who the lowest cost producers are. And I say that in a sense of like transactions and who really has the most effective blockchain. And to give background on my views of that is I'm very blockchain agnostic. I try to value all the projects differently, and I think they all have their roles and places, and everybody has their narratives, and it's just interesting to watch people compete. And I think, you know, there will be a winner at the end of the day, but there's no telling today who that's going to be. And I'm very open to any of these questions regarding blockchain technology or where the industry, you know, should be focused.
Yeah, is there like certain, you know, different projects like Solana or like, you know, just other like Stacks, some of these other things that are going on that you're really looking into? Because I mean, you're, I think, probably in a minority of people in the crypto space that are technical and really understand everything down to the nitty gritty, down to the mining and the actual network, everything there. Like, is there anything that's really from a technical standpoint you're like, whoa, this is fucking crazy, like this could change the game? Or do you think the space will kind of continue to be dominated by Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then kind of a assortment of alts?
Yeah, and let me give this the traditional preface of this isn't financial advice, and I do not represent I do not represent my company's, or my views aren't represented by the company, right? But you know, as far as projects I think that are interesting, I think the different forks of Bitcoin have a lot of potential because it's one of those things where they haven't died. Therefore, it's still a risk to Bitcoin inherently. And you know, you can have whatever views you want on Bitcoin's value proposition, talking about BTC and all that. But really, I think people are short-sighted in that it comes down to what the miners get paid, right? The miners have to get paid. We have real bills. We have infrastructure we have to pay for. I've got 130 employees' wages I got to pay for. And, you know, some of these other projects, such as Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV, are willing to contend with Bitcoin on that. And, you know, I think Bitcoin SV, for example, I've talked to a lot of people in that space, and it's probably the most hated space in all of crypto, which is why I'm kind of interested in it in that sense. You know, it's like, why does everybody hate this? I need to understand. But, you know, they have really interesting ideas, and they just want to scale their blockchain. And, you know, if that works, that's great. You know, that really is a net benefit to everybody. And if it doesn't, that's also fine. Like, let's just see what happens and what the market wants to do. You know, as far as Ethereum 2.0 or Solana, I think they have their place. And I think my biggest headache with the projects is the cost to use them. Because again, when I came into the space in 2012, Bitcoin was wildly different. It was about creating a currency that everybody in the world could use. And I see things like Bitcoin's fees when they're $1 or $2, or, you know, we've seen spikes up to $40 per transaction. I just think that doesn't work for the world. I think, you know, you do have layer 2 scaling solutions, but we need to see those work first, right? You know, as far as Lightning or anything with Bitcoin. But I think the real market is, how can we get global participation in our blockchain and make it cost effective for everyone? And I think whoever solves that first is going to be the winner. But as far as Ethereum, if they can get POS off the ground and make that work and scale their transactions, the people from the ESG community who are focused on environmental impact and such, Wall Street's going to bankroll that. I mean, that's what they want to see right now. That's the next narrative that we're really going to see pushed in media, is all about our environmental impact on this planet. And yeah, I think if Ethereum can successfully manifest that, it would probably do pretty well for the community,
Yeah. So the shrimp are obviously, a group full of entrepreneurs and early stage startup founders, and everyone has a pretty entrepreneurial mindset who's a part of the Shrimp Society. So what do you think are the biggest opportunities right now for entrepreneurs within this space, or thinking about coming into this space right now?
Yeah, and that's half the reason I'm here, right? When you gave me a rundown of what you guys are really looking at and what you want to do with your project, I genuinely found that inspiring. Because you see a lot of people that are trying to just mint NFTs and throw some JPEGs on the blockchain and make 50 grand off of it or whatever. And some of these ideas you were running past me of like making it more interactive with real life, as cool as the metaverse is, I think that's the big play, honestly. There's a lot of value in that, and it'll further incentivize people to want to be a part of that system.
For sure, yeah. Definitely bridging the metaverse and real life is definitely going to be massive. I mean, obviously, we take that close to heart, or we wouldn't be building this, right? But so speaking of NFTs, right? There's been so much hype lately, and so much going on, and just as the crypto space is, everything moves so quickly. So are you personally involved in the NFT world at all? And are there any projects that you've seen that catch your eye, or have caught your eye?
Yeah, so there is one. So there was these guys that are building a platform on BSV that caught my eye, and I've met up with them a few times in Texas, and they've turned out to be some pretty cool guys, good friends. It's these guys from this community called Twetch, and basically what they built was a Twitter-like system, but built on a blockchain. And that the blockchain of their choice was BSV. And just to give a little background on those guys, I mean, these guys have been in the industry for a long time. They had done a few Ethereum projects, and their main pain point was how much it was costing them to transact and whatnot. So they decided to go on the BSV blockchain and make NFTs on it and make this Twitter-like platform where like every post basically costs you a microtransaction to do, and people interacting with that content is another microtransaction, et cetera, trying to create this own economy within itself. So they kind of lit up my eyes, and I thought that was super interesting, putting content back into the creator's hands, so to say. And they did an NFT drop that included a physical item with it. So they had released, 100 NFT cards of these Twetch hats that they designed, and you got the NFT plus physical delivery of the hat. So I thought it was cool that you could kind of relate your NFT to something physical in real life. That way, it's not just one thing out there on the blockchain, basically.
Yeah, 100%. Going back to obviously bridging real life and the metaverse. So with everything you've accomplished, we always tell ourselves as people, as entrepreneurs, if we reach this or that goal, it's going to be amazing. Chasing big successes and that entrepreneurial high from accomplishment. So I'm curious at this point of your growth as a person, as a founder, as a CTO, do you still get that same level of excitement for the future and future milestones and the future growth of Whinstone?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're really trying to be the biggest baddest miner in Texas, right? I mean, I always say like one of the largest miners because there's just never any telling, right? There's some guy hiding with half a gigawatt in the woods somewhere. But I do think that we're definitely up there for the largest miner, and I want to continue to push that boundary and kind of see where we can get. Um, I'm really dedicated to these people of Rockdale. You know, I want to help change what this community's been through with how they were beat up over the Alcoa facility closing down, and try to like bring some jobs into these small town communities. You know, we've been working close with the workforce and the local community colleges, just getting our employees into programs to learn more conventional things in our industries like network programming or even basic mechanic stuff. You know, try to really bring jobs to these people that even if they leave Whinstone one day, you know, I want a future employer to see that name on their resume and know that they're going to be a great employee. So
I think we got to link you up with Mayor Suarez because after that speech right there, I feel like in 5 years you're going to be the mayor of Rockdale. I'd vote for you. I like it, man. I support it.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd vote for him. So, you know, do you have any advice for our shrimp, right? You know, again, the Shrimp Society is about bringing entrepreneurs together, helping one another out, and, you know, recognizing that this entrepreneurial journey isn't always sexy. You know, last week, Alvaro talked about the early stages of Jibby Coffee. It's his CBD coffee company, and, you know, how he started out selling out the back of his van, and, you know, growing into something incredible today. So knowing that this path isn't always easy, you know, what would be your advice to our fellow shrimp who are in the early stages of their project, or maybe thinking about taking some kind of entrepreneurial dive, or, you know, just knowing that you know, you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. You know, I wish I could be like one of those YouTube guys like Gary Vee and tell you to just go chase your dream and do it. But the reality of it is it's definitely not always that easy. I think stubbornness is definitely the most important factor. I think if our team wasn't so stubborn along the way, that we wouldn't have gotten to where we are today. It's just, you know, we constantly had the cards against our favor, and really committed to the project and just decided like we're either going to do this or go broke, and we'll figure something out together. But you know, the most important part of that is the team. And, you know, a lot of people try to talk down on working with family, but trust is really everything, especially in this industry that's just riddled with scammers and rug pullers, right? Um, you got to have people you can trust and people that are really willing to get on the line for you. And I think that's the only reason we've gotten to where we are today is our team has immense trust for one another, and we were collectively stubborn even when everything was stacked against us. We always found a way to make things work. For instance, I remember one time, you know, we had some bills we had to pay for our electrical infrastructure back in the startup days. And, you know, Lyle went on Facebook Live and just did a fire sale of random things we had laying around the warehouse just to make that money so we could pay our bills and continue operating. So you really just, you can't take no for an answer as well. Most people can be pushed a little bit beyond that. And the second you can get them to commit to one thing, you can get them to commit to another thing. You know, power infrastructure, all that requires studies to be done by the grid, and see what's going to happen if you add this load there. And those can be 12 to 18 month studies. And you can just sit there and kind of drill away. Like they say no, and you say, okay, what's the problem here? Figure out what the problem is, and you go solve it for them. You know, find every single way possible to make your solution manifest. And I think that's a part of the stubbornness, you know, not taking no for an answer. It's probably the most important thing that's benefited our team over this time.
That's amazing. You know, I love that. You know, definitely that stubbornness that seems to run so rampant in all entrepreneurs. You know, so, you know, last question before we wrap up and open up a little Q&A. So how is your mindset, and just the way, your mindset really played a role in your success as a whole?
Yeah, honestly, I just wake up and go to work every day, and I don't really think about much else.
Day by day.
Yeah, I mean, moving into Rockdale was a blessing. It was right before this COVID pandemic kicked off, so while most people were trapped in their homes or apartments, I had the luxury of being on 10 acres of land and not being surrounded by anything at all. Nearest neighbor a mile away. Um, and for me personally, that gave me the opportunity to lock in on my goals. And everybody else might not be like that. You might have to be in a city center around successful people to really get your drive going. But for me personally, I needed to be with myself and my team and have a common goal that we all work towards, and that was the best play for us.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think with anything, whether it's a job or a team or whatever, the people around you can really make or break that. Just can't really understate the importance of just having good people around you at whether it's business, life, anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've come across bad people. I've done deals with people that I shouldn't have done deals with, and you get burned in the end. But you have to take those lessons and just roll with them and accept them for what they are. Sometimes you really can't change that stuff. But yeah, that's definitely the bigger part of it.
Cool. Well, that wraps up all the questions I have. I don't know if Chris or Brian have anything else, or if anyone in the audience wants to ask any questions. But we'll go ahead and open it up for a little Q&A if anyone wants to.
Yeah, and one last thing I do want to leave you with on that note is how important honesty is. I can't tell you how many times I've watched people and myself dig into these holes that they just will never get out of because they weren't honest about one part of it. And you won't get anywhere without honesty between you and your teammates. That's the absolute most important part of that function.
I love that. That's fire advice. Awesome, man. Thank you.
I was just gonna say, Ashton, thank you again today. I definitely know for being an inspiration for someone like Luke and me, of just being like, as you said, the whole time, authenticity is key, and just that's what you're kind of portraying. That's what we're trying to portray with the Shrimp Society. Is you don't need to be from a target school, you don't need to be the smartest kid in the room. It's just a good work ethic, and I think you're definitely someone who showed that, and I think that was a great conversation tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been great.
Awesome. Anybody questions here? I think maybe while people are thinking of something, where's the best place that people can reach out to you? Like, are you big? Do you do any like content? Are you on Twitter? Are you anywhere that you're putting out content you want support or following or anything there? What's the best place people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, no, that's actually a great question. I'm very anti-social media, actually. I'm trying to think of the best place you could reach me.
I guess you're in the Discord.
Discord.
Yeah, right here. Discord is
right here.
Is there. Yeah, and I can post my Telegram information later.
You can only reach him through the shrimp. We reserve all rights.
Oh, hold up. My the question from Fugami came through. He says, my question is, what is the worst advice that you hear in entrepreneurship crypto space? What advice do you hear that you think people shouldn't follow?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a great question. Within the crypto space, I think I'm gonna hit you with the follow your dreams thing. I wholeheartedly agree with the idea. And it's very rewarding to yourself, but sometimes you really do need to have that conversation with yourself when, start looking at the logistics of it between market analysis, etc. Is this really going to work? And it's never a fun conversation. And I've definitely had it with myself, doing this project over the last few years. Definitely the tipping point for me was I wasn't sure if I believed in the technology that I was supporting. because there's definitely questionable things that happen in the Bitcoin space. Are we enabling sex trafficking, drug trafficking, all these things by having a anonymous online currency? Definitely. But I would say that, sometimes you need to reconsider what your dream is and how you want to manifest that. Because you could just be off by a little bit, or at the same time, a lot of it. And really think about if you're willing to do it all to invest in yourself and take those risks. That's definitely the hardest conversation you'll have.
No, that's a great answer, and I see like a lot of like aspiring entrepreneurs or kind of like early career entrepreneurs. They get so attached to one idea or one product, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna sell this new e-commerce product, and like this, I have to make this work. But sometimes you have to take the step back and say, no, like the market's not there, or this isn't there, and kind of detach yourself from the idea in a way and fall in love more of like the entrepreneurial process instead of just like one outcome that you've chosen.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
This was perfect. It's right at 9:00. Perfect Sunday dinner. Everybody go enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully there's no Sunday scaries. Hopefully this helped with any Sunday scaries.
I'm gonna be so hungover tomorrow.
Yeah. Burley's gonna be struggling, but that's all right. Hopefully everyone's enjoying, had something good to eat, drink, and super thankful everybody who came out and mostly to also Ashton, of course, for coming out here, spending an hour with us and joining the shrimp community and really embodying what it is to be a shrimp man. We're really happy to have you here.
Yeah, guys, thanks again for having me on and let me come speak. And again, for anybody in the audience, I'll drop my Telegram information down there. Feel free to reach out to me. Any questions you might have, I'm more than happy to talk with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, Luke. Appreciate it. And let's keep growing. Let's have an amazing week, everybody. We got a fresh week.
Have a good week.
Damn, that was awesome.
I hope we kicked it off well.
Why is Sunday dinner always a vibe?
Such a vibe.
Why can't it be Sunday dinner every day?
Soon. We'll get there.
We'll get there.
I love it. All right. Everybody, enjoy your night. Thanks again for coming, and we'll see you next week.
All right, people. Be easy out there.